This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
Here's a factoid you might need. A pair of tennis shoes is good for about 600 miles of walking. At least, that's according to Robert Schrader of Bakersfield, who wore out 3 pairs of tennis shoes, a pair of hiking boots, and some snow boots in walking from San Francisco to New York City in the last half of 2021. Mr. Schrader joins us on this Bizgnus Interview Podcast to tell us why he walked across the nation. Robert, you have just completed walking across the country. Are you tired?
I am very much tired. I have reached a point when I got home where I just want to sit down and hang out with my family. That's about it for the last week.
Now, people are going to say, why would anybody bother to walk across the country when you could take Southwest Airlines or something like that?
Yeah, actually, I got asked the question why I didn't ride a bike or why I didn't hop trains. And my answer was I didn't want it to be over before it even started. I had the intention of it taking a long time for more amount of time to draw people in for the cause.
Well, tell us why you did it.
To raise awareness on child abuse. So Kern County sits at about 11.2% on their child abuse statistic rate per 1,000. And I would like to bring that down one day, so number one reason was to raise awareness on child abuse to help educate the county a little bit more and to raise money and hopefully create partnerships with bigger businesses to build a new facility to help children that are survivors of child abuse and domestic violence.
Is this your professional background in some way?
Yes. My wife is a chief executive officer of youth empowerment, and I am the chief branding officer. We've been open since 2011, and we do a lot of work with children that are survivors of child abuse and domestic violence and stuff.
Tell us a little bit more about your organization. Where are you located and what do you offer?
We are located downtown Bakersfield in the old Bakersfield Californian building. We're on the first floor there. We offer supervised visitations, anger management, parenting classes, life skills, and we want to provide more in the future, which is part of what the walk is. We definitely will need a bigger facility and stuff like that. We just now started last week our outreach program with food and clothes and stuff like that. And then we also have provided 2 service dogs that are what we call therapy dogs. They're little sheepadoodles that are for kids and stuff like that too.
Why do you suppose child abuse seems so much higher in some parts of the country? I'm not trying to point a finger at Kern County.
Well, honestly, it could be depending on the amount of people and how often it gets reported. The more people report it, of course, your stats might go up, but that's okay because people are doing their job and recording. I think it was Ohio where everybody's required to record suspected child abuse, unlike, other states where mandated reporters are required to report suspected child abuse. And so Cleveland actually had a pretty high stat there, but not everything was always founded or found to be true. But it's the more the people report, the more they know, the more they can recognize it. I think it depends. Bakersfield, I think they do their due diligence in what they're supposed to do. Some cities might just try to keep to themselves and not some people might be embarrassed to call in case it's the wrong thing to do. I think it depends on the city and the town and the mentality that they have adapted.
What, when you say child abuse, what are we talking about? Are we talking about physical abuse, mental abuse, or what?
Yes, so there's actually quite a bit. There's sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, and medical abuse. Um, and then there's another half called neglect, where you don't have enough food in the house, or you don't have power, water, clothes, or maybe your kid doesn't, you're not sending them to school enough. So there's a little teeter totter there, but they all go underneath your statistics when they're found. And neglect is something that we want to fight in the beginning to prevent child abuse. We want to prevent parents going down the bad road, or help them get out of a ditch, or help them get out of a bad situation. But we also want to stop child abuse where, physical abuse is going on also. So
Let's talk a little bit, Robert, about your walk. Where did you leave from and when?
I left July 4th at 6 a.m. from the Golden Gate Bridge, right there in the center. I went live on Facebook. It was my first time really going live, and I screwed that whole thing up. It was sideways, and I had filters with puppy dog ears, but it was okay. One of my biggest nerve wracks was going live and talking to the public, which I'm not very good at. But that day I learned that I just need to be myself. And so, yeah, I went from the Golden Gate Bridge and took off north from there.
Up into Marin County and beyond. So where did your walk take you?
So navigating through California was pretty difficult because you definitely can't walk on the interstates or the highways here, or the freeways anyways. So all the way up until I got east of Sacramento, I was zigzagging, taking bike trails, even climbed through a guy's backyard, doing what I could to get through California. Once I got heading up towards South Lake Tahoe, Highway 50 became my home, east of Sacramento. And I think that was, I forget the name of all those towns I went through, but I went through South Lake Tahoe on Highway 50. And I also went through Nevada all the way into Utah on Highway 50 until I hit the 40, and then that became my home.
Now, if somebody were driving along Highway 50 and saw you walking along the road, they'd just think you were a normal hiker, wouldn't they? Or did you have a sign or something like that?
So in the beginning, I was a normal hiker. So I actually have this thing where who holds the best hospitality rate, and Utah definitely owns that. But California and Nevada kind of didn't have a chance because I had a safety driver, so I didn't have to push a cart, and I just looked like a normal walker going through California. In Nevada, a lot of people stopped and talked to me because I was on Highway 50. They call it the loneliest road in America. There's 6 towns and 408 miles. So when somebody would drive by me, a lot of them would stop and ask if I needed a ride, and then I'd tell them what I was doing. But there wasn't much support they could give there because we're in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't until Utah that I had started pushing my cart with a sign on it, and I was wearing a t-shirt that said the walk, describing what I was doing. And that's when people started actually coming up to me and talking to me and really wanting to know what was going on. Mostly they thought there was a child in the cart. And when you're in the middle of nowhere, they're like, "Oh my goodness, how many kids are in there?" And I'm like, "There's no kids. This is what I'm doing." And then we get to having a conversation.
When you got into a town, did you find the newspaper or radio or TV station interested in what you were doing?
So the only town I believe, that had the newspaper come out, and I believe it was Eureka, Utah. They came out and talked to me and did a story. I haven't seen a link to it yet, or anything. I don't know what they did with it. The population was about, 7,000 maybe. Um, so I haven't reached out to get that link yet or to see if they've done it, but I do have their contact info. That's the only one that's really reached out. Um, we did have a promotion team going ahead of me, sending out the press releases, but not too many people ever reached back out.
Did that disappoint you?
No, because I honestly had met with a lot of people, and I got the cause, I got the information across, you know, and it's far from being over. We're only 6 months into this, and I've got years of planning for other publicity stunts. So pretty soon, since I've been home, I've had 3 interviews and one conference where I got to stand up and give a presentation. So it's actually, now that I'm done, I think it's picking up more
Now,
and more.
we've just left your trip off in Utah. Where did you go from there?
Utah, I went into Colorado, um, and going into Colorado was pretty difficult. The mountain ranges there, trying to get over the Continental Divide, I believe it was. And I still say it in my head every day, 11,385 feet. Um, I was towards the end of Colorado, actually. I had some pretty rough days going through there. I ended up in the ER with what the doctor said, an abdominal tear, and from possibly pushing the cart up those hills.
How long were you in the hospital?
Just a few hours. They wanted to make sure it wasn't like a diverticulitis or something important. And then the doctor just ended up saying it was a abdominal tear, and that what was going through in the mountains and stuff. He says that, I'm good to go if I want to keep going. It'll take 6 weeks to heal, and I couldn't stop for 6 weeks, so I just kept on going fairly lightly.
So you hit Nebraska next.
No, Colorado went into Kansas.
Oh, sorry about that. There goes my
Oh, that
geography.
um so Highway 40 jumps on and off of Interstate 70. So I was pretty much, 70 was kind of my home, but there was Colorado had kicked me off the interstate a few times. Uh and I allowed to get kicked off twice, and then I tried not to get back on it. Um, but the Highway 40 would run next to 70 and then disappear and go on the 70. And so sometimes I would find myself on like a back road, like 24, Highway 24. I was using that sometimes. And then there's times where I had to walk the interstate, regardless if I was going to get in trouble or not, just so I don't have to backtrack.
When you got to the Mississippi, you probably felt pretty good. You're halfway home.
Lewis and Clark, I had conquered the good old West. I officially conquered the West at that point. Uh, my wife gave me 3 days off and put me up in a hotel there, and I got to go up in the arch and check out the city and St. Louis, um, and see everything that I conquered so far. So that was one of my favorite things to say, is I had officially conquered the West, and that was nice.
Summarize a little bit your trip east of the Mississippi.
So once you get east of the Mississippi, you find out that first of all, it's a little more populated. The towns come more frequently. Having to sleep in a tent wasn't as much as it was on the West Coast. And one of my wife's rules was if I could sleep in a hotel, she would like me to, because her she would like me to come back home and not die. That was her rule. I'm not allowed to die. And I said, okay, that sounds like a good one. So uh, if there was a hotel, I got to stay in it, and that's what she preferred. And it was a little more abundant over there. It was probably, the ratio was about 60-40 sleeping in my tent, 60% was hotels. And that was all the way into Indianapolis. And then from Indianapolis on, you almost never left the town. It was just so populated. Um, and the roads kind of stopped going from east to west, and they zigzagged all over the place. It was almost like navigating through California again after that city.
That must have been great fun going through those states. But did you find a difference in attitude east to west as you walked?
I did. From Utah all the way to the end of Missouri, the smaller towns, I found different attitudes more in the population than like the states or the cities. Smaller towns are more inclined to reach out to you, come up to you, ask you what you're doing. Uh, Good old boys that I've seen wives slap their husband, stop for this guy and find out what's going on, and the guys would say, oh, he's walking, nope, they got to find out. Here, I made some dinner, give you some dinner out there in the country. And then as soon as you get into the city, like St. Louis or uh, where else did I go? Denver, Colorado. Uh, at that point, you're kind of just in everybody's way, and everybody's got something to do. It was pretty crazy. But the East Coast, I would say, they're more used to travelers. They have a lot of hiking trails, a lot of the Appalachian hiking trails. A lot of people who start from the East Coast, I found out, and make their way west. So they're a little more used to seeing people like me come through.
Now, where did you end up? Where did you say I have finished?
I ended up in New York and stopped at the Statue of Liberty. I got to New York on the December 21st, and I booked my ticket for the 23rd to the Statue of Liberty. And once I got there, I felt like I was completed, and now I feel like I have nothing to do.
you you could probably write a travel book, I suspect.
I do. I want to write two books. One's going to be a coffee table picture book. I got a lot of compliments on my photography, and the other one's going to be the experiences and emotions and physical hardships that I went through.
What was the high point for you on this whole walk?
The high point, I think the coolest part, honestly, was I had some family members I have not hung out with in a while or seen, and they were really intrigued, and they volunteered to come out and be safety drivers. And my cousin Miles, who we haven't hung out since we were kids, he came out for 10 days, volunteered to be a safety driver, and man, we did more conversating than we did walking. I would call it short just so we could hang out, and I thought that was really unique that it brought us together. That was probably my high point.
Opposite of that, of course, is the lowest point. What was the low ebb for you?
I Missing my kids at night when you go to bed, whether you're in a hotel or a tent, it feels the same. You're alone. You either when you zip up that tent or you close that door, everything goes quiet. The rest of the world's gone, and I've I've got nobody to talk to. I've got nobody to be with or to be there with me, my kids and everything. It would it would get lonely at night.
Robert, what did you learn about yourself?
I learned that and I'm still working on it, I need to slow down. Um, Life is, there is no rehearsal. It's a one shot deal. And, before the walk, even during the walk, I was in a hurry to get home, hurry to get there. I had to make my miles. And sometimes things are just out of your control. And I need to stop being in a hurry all the time. It's just even getting up in the morning, getting the kids ready and rushing them off to school. I'm always in a hurry. I'll leave my glasses, I'll leave my wallet. I might even leave a child at home and have to go back. I stop, smell the roses, enjoy life. I learned that the end result's going to be the same no matter what. So I might as well enjoy it.
Would you tell our listeners and our viewers where they can get more information? You guys might have a website.
Yes, we do. So we have two websites. One is followthewalk.org. That's where you can go and find the link to the Facebook page, Instagram. You can also find a place to donate and give. Volunteer work is one of my favorite things. And the walk is actually an entity of Y Empowerment, which stands for Youth Empowerment. And Y Empowerment Inc. What is our website there? I know the email address, but actually the website is connected to the walk. You can get to the Y Empowerment .org also. Through the walk website. And we also have a phone number that is 661-324-KIDS if you ever need to reach out.
Robert, what would you like to tell our audience that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, one of the biggest things we can do is educate ourselves in recognizing signs of child abuse. And also teaching our kids how to recognize the same signs because they're always hanging out with other kids, and to just educate yourself as much as possible so we can all work together and join forces. I always say this, and I love this. I stole it from a friend of mine, but he would say the Amish says that nothing's heavy if everyone lifts. So I like that saying. I've kept it my whole journey, and I believe there's power in numbers. And if we all come together, we can do this. And my second thing I would say is if you ever go on a trip, slow down and enjoy it, and do the same thing with life.
You've been watching the Bizgnus Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. Thanks for watching.